Metagross is incredibly strong competitively, but I'm going to try to get it to do something a little different. It's pretty much always ran as a physical attacker for good reason because of that base 135 attack stat, but its 95 special attack isn't horrible and should allow it to catch people by surprise a little bit. We can first bust out agility to double its speed, making it faster than most threats, and then we've got coverage in Meteor Beam, which is 120 power, 2-turn rock move. It comes with a built-in special attack boost, and then the Power Herb item allows us to fire it off immediately. We can then pull out stab options in Psychic along with Flash Cannon, and Special Metagross just never gets enough love, so that's what I'm here for. Look, Metagross is a super sick pseudo-legendary no matter what, but it's always used in a pretty similar way, and so today we're going to switch it up with the X-Bugs. We try to keep things fresh around here, and if you're into that kind of thing, consider hitting that subscribe button. I'm on my way to 400k, I'd love to have you as part of the journey, and with that, let's go ahead and get into the match. Alright, so my opponent is going to go ahead and decide to lead off with the Zarude. Now, as I have myself a futuristic Dawn fan, I know that I'm probably in danger of a fighting move here, but in general, I'm just going to set up my Stealth Rock, and that's exactly what happened. Now, I am faster, and I figure with a Focus Sash, I can guarantee I take a close combat here, and then I can get some good chip with an Ice Spinner. It turns out it's going to go for the Drain Punch instead, which does do some pretty good damage, does not bring me down to Sash. Now, the thing is, my best switch-in would be something like Salazzle. Instead, however, I decided to stay in, go for that Ice Spinner for the chip. Salazzle, I feel like I don't want to waste my Air Balloon quite yet, and also run the risk of them going for something like a knockoff. So I do just let them finish me off with another Drain Punch, which is good. I at least stop this thing from being able to set up something like a Swords Dance. And at this point, with old Long Arms by himself over here, we can figure out a switch in. Now, this team has a couple different options to bring in here. I decide I can go into Abomasnow. The reason for that is just because I can set up Aurora Veil. Now, with the snow coming in, I do get that 50% defensive boost. I know I should be able to take a Drain Punch. Bad thing is, it's just going to be able to get a bunch more health back. But I figure that's kind of a fine trade-off for being able to set up my Aurora Veil. As they do just continually drain me with his fist, I did take a bunch of damage from that. And also now it's like back to full. So I get up my Aurora Veil, which is great, however. And at this point, I'm feeling like I can probably take another one from this thing. At least if they want to go for another Drain Punch. And then I can bite back with a nice little Blizzard. So they go for it. I do live, because now not only do I have that boost still from the snow, I'm also behind an Aurora Veil, and this thing thick as a bowl of oatmeal. So we take it nice and easy. Allows me to then fire off a Blizzard, and I expected that to kill. It does not, but it does turn it into a Popsicle. So a little monkey Popsicle over there, that's actually fine. I figure, how can I take advantage of this? And one way is to get in Salazzle. Now this Salazzle, it's a little bit different, and you're going to see that. But bad thing is, they decide to switch as well. Now they end up going into their Hisuian Samurott, and while that thing's looking tiny over there, Salazzle comes in on a matchup that I was not really looking for. But here's the thing, if I'm them with, Samurott does one thing, at least the Hisuian form, and that is get some spikes up via Ceaseless Edge. So if I'm them, I'm expecting a switch here, and maybe I just click that instead of the water coverage. Regardless, I'm behind an Aurora Veil, so I'm thinking I can try to take advantage of that. If they want a Ceaseless Edge, I can take at least 2 of them. So I go for the Dragon Dance, and this Salazzle is in fact physical. I'm trying to see if I can get a freaking Dragon Dance Lizard to surprise some people. Now that brings me to +1 attack and speed. They do go for the Ceaseless Edge, and that does do about half. Even with the Aurora Veil, this thing has glass bones and paper skin, so that shit hurts. And also they get some scatter some Legos on their side, on my side of the field. So at this point, it does reveal it is Life Orb, and now I'm thinking, screw it. I'm going to go for the Gunk Shot. If I connect, that's going to be a kill. They do have the Sucker Punch, but luckily with that Aurora Veil up, I'm able to barely hang on. And then we fire off the Gunk Shot and also connect, so luckily we don't miss, and that is going to be a dead Samurott. So that thing's actually pretty scary. Good to get that out of the way. Salazzle is not in the greatest spot here, considering some of my damage relies on things like Flare Blitz, and, it's not looking great, especially because this little furry bastard comes in. And look, Slitherwing does a few things, but one you can always guarantee is a first impression is coming. Now, it also is going to be able to get its Photosynthesis, has that booster energy, gets an attack boost, and I know that I'm definitely in danger of a bad first impression here. So I figure I can save the Salazzle. If they don't have any hazards up, I can potentially bring that thing in later to be fast, and maybe even just save it for a Death Fodder switch in. Because with the Loma Mola around, if they've got a physical attacker, they're going to have a bad time. This thing is named Hate Disc because it's just absolutely the bane of my existence, and it doesn't evolve from Love Disc. What the hell is Alomamola's deal? Truly, I will never understand. But pink heartfish nonsense aside, I expect them to swap here, and for that reason, I decided to go for the flip turn. Now, as they bring in an Amoris, it does take some Stealth Rock chip and some chip from the flip turn, but it's also really good now that the Slitherwing can no longer use its booster energy. So it used up its attack boost. At this point, I gotta try to make some moves here. Now, here's what I'm thinking. Metagross actually comes in really nicely on an Amoris. For this Metagross, I mean, a lot of the time people expect a bullet punch. So I feel like that gives me a little bit of leeway to potentially set up an agility, but it's just a way to be able to set up a little insurance policy. I'm going to go for the Terra Flying for a couple reasons. First of all, one of the best coverage moves that an Amoris has on a Metagross is going to be something like an Earth Power. If they Earth Power here, I get an agility for free, and you do not want to see Metagross's spider ass come running at you full speed. So I put the balloons on my head, and they actually just click Mystical Fire instead. But it's fine because now it's neutral. It doesn't do anything, especially behind the Aurora Veil. And now this boy is feeling agile as hell. I get the agility up as my Aurora Veil goes away. At +2 speed, I outspeed literally everything they have. So, not wanting to take any more chip, I decided to go for the Flash Cannon here. I know that should be able to grab a kill, and it does. So down goes the crazy, weird-ass snake thing, and that feels pretty good. An Amoris is fast, and it's a threat. So, the reason why I didn't go for the Meteor Beam is basically because of Gliscor. It's kind of the best damage I can get on this thing, especially if I can get it off on one turn. So now, as they bring in the Gliscor, I'm going to immediately click that Meteor Beam. So we fill up with some space power, and then we, of course, have the little special attack boost that comes with it. And then, icing on the cake is the full charge due to the Power Herb. So we connect. It should do over half, I know that for sure, but it actually just straight up deletes the Gliscor because we get ourselves a cheeky critical hit. So that is going to take care of the Gliscor. Now here's the thing, that Gliscor really could not go for an Earthquake. It couldn't really even go for a knockoff, and that's the reason why I wanted to use my Power Herb. Regardless, in comes a Typhlosion here. Now, Hisuian Typhlosion, I do outspeed. Even if it's Choice Scarf, if it's modest, I outspeed. While Psychic does not quite kill, they expected to be faster, and as they click Eruption, with that health, it's not going to do anything, and that's actually extremely clutch. Modest Typhlosion does not outspeed a jolly or a timid Metagross at +2 speed. Important to know, but they decide to potentially save that thing for later as they switch into the Zarude. It does in fact die to the Stealth Rock, and the Xbox 360 is going on a bit of a tear here. Now, obviously that thing would not have taken a Psychic because it's dark, but it dies anyway. And looking at what they have left, at +1 special attack, Metagross actually does extremely well here. Now, as they bring in Slitherwing, this thing does have the potential to go for a first impression, but it does not have its booster energy anymore, and it's resisted because we're flying type, and then I just kill it with a Psychic. And then Buddy got absolutely hoed by the box, and they actually decide to head out. So Metagross puts some nice little pressure there, and it's fun using this thing on the special side. So that's going to be the end of that one, but not quite as satisfying as we would like. So that's now going to bring us into game number 2. And also, if you've stuck around this far into the video, go ahead and hit that like button for me. It really does help out the channel, and it takes you like a second. So, you know, hit the thing. And also, we have another very scary team we're going up against, so let's jump into it. Alright, so just straight from the team preview, one thing you can almost guarantee is if they have a Cleaver, they're going to lead with that damn thing. So, expecting that, I decided to lead off with the Hate Disc straight away. No love here, because as I know they're going to go for a Stone Axe, I'm pretty fine with that. I can then fire off a free Scald. As it doesn't do much, I'm defensive as hell, and it also takes some Rocky Helmet. Now, it does spread around some Stealth Rock, but that's kind of fine, because now I get a free roll for some big damage and a potential burn. But I don't get it. Scald only burns if it's used on you, so it does not happen. And now as they decide to go for the U-turn, them clicking that was actually pretty important knowledge. Now, that's going to mean that it is not Choice Scarf, so I should be able to outspeed it with anything that I don't have to expect the thing to be quicker than it should be. So, with that, I click the U-turn, just expecting the swap here. In comes Goodra. This Goodra just looks like it's always just in excruciating pain, and I feel sorry for the guy, but I get the flip turn, and now I can go into whatever I like. Now, while the bad news is, I go into the Iron Treads here, who, you know, my Focus Sash does get broken, but I basically threaten this thing out with an Earthquake. So, rather than that, I decide I'm going to take advantage of this, go ahead and set up my own Stealth Rock. It'll punish a whole bunch of switching, and even things like the Cleaver are not going to want to come in on that. So, they decide they get in the Cleaver just before the Stealth Rock is set up, and it's fine with me. So, Cleaver generally is going to be carrying some fighting coverage with close combat. Now, I realize that at full health, I take about 85% from that. So I take this opportunity to go for a Rapid Spin. I want to ensure I get rid of those Stealth Rocks, so there's no way they're going to be able to go for another Stone Axe here. They do hit me with a close combat right to the old trunk, and I live it with 28, which is great, because now I've basically checkmated the Cleaver. It can no longer set up any Stealth Rock. Now I can just go ahead and finish it off with a little Earthquake here. It cannot switch back in, so it's basically death fodder. Down goes the Cleaver, which is great because that boy ugly as hell with his green shiny, and that thing's also a pretty big threat out of the way. So, now, while I do get the Stealth Rock off of my side, they have it on theirs. And it's always bad news when there's a damn Cinderace around because this thing enjoys going for court changes. So expecting them to maybe court change here, I'm thinking I can get a pretty decent damage Earthquake. Turns out, however, I get my ass Sucker Punch. So he punches my ass back to the Shadow Realm. Down goes the roly-poly. And that's kind of unfortunate. But at least with a free little revenge switch here, I can try to set something up. And this team needs the momentum of this type of, revenge switch in to get something going. And I decide Salazzle is a pretty decent opportunity here because surely they click court change, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So a little bit of a blunder on my end with the Stealth Rock ending up on my side, but at least I get a free substitute out of it. And Salazzle behind a substitute is not bad because now if they want to potentially Sucker Punch or try to just get rid of my sub, I get a free Dragon Dance here, which is really nice because this thing is not a physical attacker, and it definitely needs all the damn attack boosts it can get. So, as I go for the Dragon Dance here, they swap into the Goodra. That tells me this thing is probably Assault Vest. A lot of the time, these Hisuian Goodras are going to be super bulky on the special side, so I actually have a little bit of the surprise factor working out for me. As I Dragon Dance here, I think a Flare Blitz is a 2-hit KO, so that feels pretty good. I'm going to go Blitz in here. I am behind the substitute, so I can for sure get rid of this thing, at least hopefully. So, Flare Blitz is going to put it in range to be a 2-hit KO, which is amazing. And I just hide back behind my little beanbag. Do take some recoil, of course, but they can now just get rid of that beanbag with the freaking Surf. Goodra has every type of damn coverage move you can think of. Why can this asshole Surf? No idea. Cowabunga though, bitch. He can now die to a Flare Blitz, unless they want to swap out here. But also, it does pop your Air Balloon behind the substitute. It's something important to note. But I go for a second Flare Blitz here that is going to be able to take care of Goodra. And honestly, getting a 2-hit KO on that thing always feels like a win, because that is a very bulky bastard, and also that's going to open the door a whole lot for something like Metagross. While, ordinary Metagross would have some coverage against it, I don't have anything for it. So that was kind of one of the main things I wanted to do was get rid of that damn Goodra, and we do the job. So they now have a decent revenge switch in of their own. This brings in the Polteageist. The bad thing is, as I Flare Blitz, we would have gotten the kill, but it's Focus Sash. So that court change actually comes back to bite me quite a bit. It lives with the Focus Sash because of taking no chip, and it activates its weak armor, just getting it a nice little +2 speed boost. I do live from the recoil, which is kind of nice, but they could now just go for the Shadow Ball, which is actually best case scenario. Had they gone for a Shell Smash, that it would have been a little bit worse for me. They probably are reluctant to do so, just because I have the Metagross on my team. Putting that pressure of the threat of a Bullet Punch and things like that are just really nice. I don't even have it, but I still have that presence, so it's like I still get the benefit of that. So knowing that they're not really going to want to Shell Smash here, I decide to bring in Abomasnow. And with that, I'm going to set myself up a little Aurora Veil. You know the drill here. The Frosted Mini-Weed at this point is here to just set up some Veils. So they go for a Shadow Ball. Again, not wanting to Shell Smash here. And I get up pretty much essentially a free Aurora Veil. I'm willing to lose Abomasnow here just to get up that Veil, because it feels like that value is going to allow anything to be able to set up. And it's pretty much just going to be Metagross. So they go for another Shadow Ball. I actually do live with the Aurora Veil being up, so that's pretty sick. This Abomasnow just does not die as easily as it once used to. A lot of that's just because of the defense boost that comes with the snow, but even on the special side, we're able to take that second Shadow Ball, and that's pretty good. So now they go into Enamorus. Seems like Enamorus is running around all over the damn place these days, and this thing is still pretty scary. So as they go for that Mystical Fire, that is going to take care of the Obama. So, I mean, I'm fine with that, because now that allows me to switch into Metagross, and while, I'm behind an Aurora Veil, I can surely take any attack this thing wants to throw. We just saw the Mystical Fire. I figure that's probably what they're going to do, and I can freely set up an Agility. With one Agility, we are again faster than everything. They end up going for the Earth Power, and this is where a Weakness Policy would actually be super nice. I do not have it, but at least I live thanks to that Aurora Veil, and now with the Speed Boost, we're out here zooming. Now, at this point, surely a Meteor Beam is not going to kill here with just one special attack boost. So I decide I'm going to end up going for the Terra Flying. That's just because they are most definitely going to click the Earth Power again. If they don't, it's just going to be Mystical Fire. And regardless, if I just get a neutral hit, I should be able to take it. So it is now Metagross's birthday. We pull out the balloons, and these got to be some crazy-ass balloons to hold my heavy ass. But we're floating above the ground. And they decide to go for a Terra of their own. We got a fucking crystallized ass turn here, and this thing is going to end up going for the ground Terra. So they want to do a few things here. It's going to make it so that now I have a neutral hit with a potential steel move, but also it's going to boost up its earth power just in case. So, luckily I went for that Terra Flying because as I hit it with just a flash cannon, I figured that would just be enough and then I could save my my Meteor Beam. But they just earth power. I do get around half from that, and I get essentially a free turn out of that. And we get them to use their Terra. So at this point, with Psychic being 10 more power than Flash Cannon, I figure it should be able to kill. I go for the Psychic, and that does take out the Enamorus. So not only one of the scarier mons they've got taken care of, but also down goes their Terra option, and that is really nice. So Enamorus dead, and here's one of the problems. Freaking Roaring Moon is always a threat. It also is going to be Photosynthesis. Turns out to be an attack boost, so luckily it's not going to be able to outspeed me. And now I can freely get off a Meteor Beam. And I'm thinking I should be, even with that Aurora Veil up, I might be able to take an attack from this thing. So I go for the Meteor Beam here, which is always just fun to get Metagross to use. More of the story why I made this set is because Meteor Beam is a sick move. And Metagross just seems like a cool Meteor Beam kind of guy. So I get fully charged through that Power Herb. We Hyper Beam the shit out of him with a Meteor type of way. And it does about half, which is really great. But what's more great is that we live the acrobatics, and that lends itself to the freaking sheer physical bulk of Metagross coming in clutch, because now Flash Cannon is able to take care of the Roaring Moon, and that is the second biggest threat pretty much out of the way. Arguably the biggest threat. So down goes the Roaring Moon. They now have one mon left, which is going to be the Cinderace. Now we know that this thing is going to be able to Sucker Punch me, but looking at what I have left, I figure I kind of just sack the Metagross here. They do go for that Sucker Punch, which is fine. They're going to turn him into the Dark type for the remainder of the game, takes care of the Metagross, pops my damn balloons in the process, but we put such pressure on the match that we really kind of opened the door there. Enamorus and Roaring Moon being taken care of is really going to open the door for the remaining things to clean it up. I do have Dragonite. I've got the Alomomola who can take an attack from it as well, but I decided to go into the Dragonite. I'm using the Tiny Wings, who is a special variant with Draco Meteor. I figure I can take an attack, drop a Draco on his ass, but they are not having it. They're going to go ahead and head out. So that's going to be the end of that one. Metagross played a super huge role in kind of opening the door for that one. And you may have thought we were done, but it turns out we're not, because I've got a bonus match for you, because literally why not? These longer videos, I like to sprinkle them in because it seems like you guys enjoy. And if you are still here and you haven't hit the like button, you're dead to me. But with that, we have a very scary team we're going up against again, and let's get into it. All right, so this time they're going to go ahead and lead off with the obvious Galvantula. Surely here for Sticky Web, and that's not great, but at least I've got my Sticky Web remover rigging out here with the old Rapid Spin. So I figure I can get up a Stealth Rock essentially for free. They're surely going to set up that Sticky Web, and that's exactly what they do. I'm also not worried about what this thing can hit me with. It cannot one-hit KO me, plus, you know, I have a Focus Sash just in case. So as I set up my Stealth Rock here, I figure either they swap or they just go for some damage. Now I'm going to Rapid Spin regardless to get them damn webs the hell out of here. Now it turns out they're going to go for an Infestation, which locks you in. I thought potentially they would, or maybe they thought I would switch here. I'm just going to go for the Rapid Spin, which actually turns out to be kind of funny because not only does that get rid of the Sticky Web, it frees me from the Infestation, and we're just out here, we spun that shit the hell off us. So now I'm faster because of that Rapid Spin, and now I can just threaten that thing with an Earthquake, and that worked out pretty damn nicely. So they realize the Earthquake is incoming, and they make a nice play. They're going to swap into the Hydreigon. And this three-headed bastard is giving me a little puppet show, but also just levitating above my damn Earthquake, which is not ideal, because now I'm kind of in danger of a fire coverage move, but I'm just going to click the Ice Spinner anyway. Should do nice damage here. Does do a decent chunk, does not have enough to kill it, but they actually connect on a Fire Blast, and that is going to burn my ass to a crisp. So absolutely melts the hell out of my Roly Boy, and that's going to take care of the treads. So it also reveals this thing is going to be Life Orb. Luckily, I did get so much chip on the thing, and now I'm feeling like I do not have a lot of answers for the Hydreigon. Well, one thing I do have is a little secret Dragonite here. Now, surely they're going to expect me to click the Extreme Speed and swap out, so that's kind of why I brought this thing in, but instead, they just stay in, go for a Dragon Pulse, and now I drop a Specs Draco Meteor on a dude with like 10 HP left. So, it does kill. The Dragon takes care of it, which I was really hoping they were going to swap there, expecting an Extreme Speed, and then just surprise Specs Draco Meteor. It does not end up working, but regardless, we take care of a pretty big threat, so that feels pretty good. Now, they have got themselves a Metagross of their own, and I feel like, you know, every Metagross in the damn world is going to physical attack here, so I have just the freaking fish for that. I go into the thicky fishy, and in comes a Alomomola, who actually takes an Ice Punch. They reveal the coverage, doesn't do anything to us, of course, and we do just about the same to them with a a Rocky Helmet, which is actually really nice. Now, surely they do not leave this Metagross in. No one in their right mind is letting that Metagross take unnecessary Scald. So, expecting the swap, I'm going to go for the Flip Turn instead. And here's the thing. Now, they have a Clodsire. While I go for the Flip Turn, it does reveal this thing is going to be Water Absorb. So while they, you know, soak up the attack for free, that's actually, I'm totally fine with that. That tells me that that thing is not unaware. And honestly, that's pretty good knowledge to have. Knowing that it's not going to be unaware, I'm free to set up in front of it. And here's the thing. I'm going to swap into the Salazzle. If I'm them, I'd probably click Toxic there. So expecting the Toxic, I can bring in Salazzle. They do Toxic, which is great, but also, since I have an Air Balloon, they have to touch me with something else before they can Earthquake me. So I feel like I'm in a pretty decent spot to set up a substitute here, and it ends up working out pretty damn nice for me, because they go for a Protect for whatever reason, just to scout what I want to go for. I now set up a substitute in the face of it. We get the free sub up, and that feels pretty good. Now, the bad thing is, Salazzle, I have to, you know, set up on the physical side and then hit it with Flare Blitzes to do anything, but just the Air Balloon puts the pressure on to the point where I'm kind of free to set up. So now they end up swapping. Of course, everybody and their mom's got a damn Gliscor. So as the Gliscor comes in, it is now going to be able to get its Toxic Orb for free, but at least I get up a Dragon Dance. And at +1 attack, we can start to do a little bit more to the thing. I'm going to be forced to go for Flare Blitzes here, but any damage that I can get on Gliscor is pretty valuable damage. So it gets its Toxic Orb there. Now, of course, they cannot Earthquake me, so that is always great, and I feel like I'm going to get up another Dance. Gotta give Buddy a free show, you know, why not? Sometimes you gotta just hit him with the dance. So I go for a second Dragon Dance, brings me to +2 attack, +2 speed, and you can tell I'm trying my damn hardest to get this Salazzle to do something. So I go for the next Dragon Dance. This allows him to go for a knockoff. Now, this was actually a match that I realized that, you know, the Air Balloon pops if you hit the substitute, which is honestly some nonsense. They go for that knockoff, gets rid of my Air Balloon, and the substitute, which is baloney, because now I can just be Earthquaked. And I'm like, well, you know what? At this point, fuck it. I'm just going to fire off a Flare Blitz, get as much damage as I can get, because literally, why the hell not? I'm going Blitz, and I got +2 attack, and hey, we get some pretty good chip there. Brings it down below half, which is fine. And old big meaty Claws here can now fire off the Earthquake, and down goes Salazzle. I had the option to go for a Flying Terror there. I just realized that after the next Flare Blitz, I would need to do some more blitzing, and I'm just not going to have the amount of HP. So I strategically keep the Terra in the back pocket, and that is for Metagross instead. I feel like I have a much better opportunity to set up with the Metagross rather than the Salazzle. So I bring in the shiny box, and it's game time. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the surprise balloons. Either they knock off here or they go for the Earthquake. I'm hoping for an Earthquake because that's going to allow me a free, nice little agility. If they knock off my Power Herb, it's not the end of the world. But I do need to try to get that attack off before it gets too much health back, because at the current range it's at, I do see a close one-hit kill, depending on what this thing's working with. So they are going to go for another Protect. Buddy's protecting all over the place. Better safe than sorry, but it works out for me nicely because I just get a free agility and that immediate doubled speed. Agility is honestly such an overlooked move in competitive. Just, it's so nice getting to +2, and we're just faster than everything now. So I can now fire off a Meteor Beam, and they're probably like, that's fine, it's going to take 2 turns. I mean, what the hell is going to be the point of that? I get the special attack boost, and then surprise bitch, I got the Power Herb. So we immediately get the Meteor Beam, and we just started blasting. Now, that does take care of the Gliscor, which is sick as hell. Killing Gliscors with a special attacking Metagross is quite satisfying. Everybody expects it to just Meteor Mash, and it can take those all day, but what it cannot do is take some no Meteor Beams. So now they decide to bring in the Galvantula. They got 4 Mons left, but I outspeed this thing. They probably were thinking maybe they had a chance to outspeed. Nope, I'm fast as shit. I can just Psychic it for the kill. It was easily in range, especially at +1. That's going to be a dead Galvantula. And now they decide to bring in their own Metagross. So we got a little Metagross on Metagross action here. Now here's the thought process. I am at full health. While I do know this thing has Ice Punch, I'm thinking an Ice Punch does like 40% to me. I'm pretty defensive, and I'm also realizing if I can go for a Meteor Beam on the second turn, it'll get that attack off. I will get the special attack boost, and I'm thinking after that, potentially at +2, then if a Flash Cannon kills. That's the thought process. I get the boost, it does not go off immediately, and the Ice Punch does over half. It does just over 50%, which is wildly unfortunate, but I can at least fire off a Meteor Beam. At +2, not going to do quite enough, and that is I actually get the crit. It does nothing even with the crit. So they fire off another Ice Punch, and the Metagross on Metagross violence results in mine dying. So I kind of miscalculated a little bit. I think I was probably thinking about maybe if it was like a plus speed nature rather than just adamant. Definitely adamant Ice Punch is able to 2-hit KO me. And while Metagross made a difference in the game, now we got to try to bring it home with what we got left. So I did get a little bit of decent chip. And also we have the Metagross killer in the form of the damn fish. I can bring in the Alomomola here. And here's the thing, besides their Metagross, they have 2 Mons left. It's going to be the Leafeon along with the Clodsire. So I decided to click the Wish, and that's going to be because I can pass that Wish to something like potentially my Dragonite in the back to get it fully healthy. And it's just the best option, knowing that they have a really good chance to just bring in Leafeon there, which they do. In comes Leafeon, whose shiny is disappointing and not autumn colored. Freaking Game Freak, please just fix this thing shiny. It would be so sick if this thing was a fall colored one. But regardless, I now get that Wish up for free. I can now bring in Dragonite, which, you know, it can take any attack from a Leafeon here. And now I get that Wish to come true, and then Tiny Wings is in a great spot. So as I bring Buddy in, they end up going for the Leech Seed. Gonna be more of a little defensive guy, I imagine, and the Leech Seed is a little bit annoying there. And while the Wish does come true, it brings me back to full HP. I do lose my multi-scale ability as the damn Leech Seed is going to sap me one time, but I honestly have a pretty good matchup here versus the Leafeon. While, you know, I do have coverage in something like a Flamethrower, the bad thing is they have a Clodsire who are generally more specially defensive trained, so I figure it can probably take that pretty nicely. So I'm like, you know what, I'm just going to fire off a Draco Meteor. I probably actually should have just gone for Ice Beam considering. But they protect. Buddy is, once again, continuing to work with the protects all over the place. And my Draco Meteor doesn't do anything. What the protect does is essentially just stalls out a turn. It just gives it another turn of the Leech Seed recovery, which, you know, is fine. Things already at full health. Just whittling down my Dragonite is not something I'm super worried about. But I'm going to continue to drop another Draco if they want to stay in here. It's going to do a lot of damage. And also, it's just going to do a lot to Clodsire. I'm thinking maybe even be close to a 2-hit KO, kind of depending on how fella's trained. So in comes the poop-shaped Clodsire, and he's just having a... He looks like he's not very happy over there, but I drop a Draco on him, and it doesn't do exactly as much as I would have hoped. I should have locked myself into Ice Beam there, but after some Black Sludge, paired with the Leech Seed, Dragonite is just being hoed a little bit over here. This Clodsire is a damn problem. Now, after that, it's going to be at about half. It is in the green, and I realize that Dragonite's best use is to switch the hell out of here to potentially finish the game off, at least hopefully with the coverage against the Leafeon and something like that. So while they do have the option to go for something like a Poison Jab, guess who doesn't give a damn? It's freaking Abomasnow. I can bring this thing in with that defensive boost. They turn out to go for the Toxic instead, however, which is not the end of the world because I'm actually totally fine with that. This Abomasnow has a few options here. Either I set up an Aurora Veil to try to, you know, clean the game up with the defense in the back, or I just get some nice little damage with something like a Blizzard here. I also have the Earth Power option, but a Blizzard is going to be real nice. So I'm like, you know what? Some chip on Clodsire would be good, but Aurora Veil feels like it's going to kind of save the game for me. So that's what I decided to do. I'm going to Aurora Veil. On the turn, they go for a Protect. They've gone for like 5 Protects, and only one time has it actually paid off for them a little bit. But I get the free Aurora Veil up, which is great. And the main problem for them is going to be Dragonite. Kind of my win condition here. I also have the Alomomola that's just not going to die to a damn thing. I don't care how many Leaf Blades that Leafeon's planning on hitting me with. It's not going to hurt. So now I can go for the Blizzard. Abomasnow can outspeed a Clodsire, and the Blizzard just straight up kills it. This Abomasnow continues to surprise people. It freaking just does so much damage. It lives stuff you don't expect, and 100% accurate Blizzards are always pretty nice. So that's going to be a dead Clodsire, and they've now down to 2 Pokemon left. They've got the Metagross, they've got the Leafeon. Metagross does have some considerable damage. It does also have, you know, the type advantage here. But I'm thinking there's really no reason for me to just waste the Abomasnow here. I can save it for later because Alomomola is just a damn cheat code against physical attackers. You bring it in, you can take a little bit of damage, you can flip turn out, regenerate your health, and God, I just hate this thing. But you got to admit, it's pretty damn nice. So as they go for the Bullet Punch, it does a bunch to them with the Rocky Helmet. I can now go for the flip turn, and they're kind of checkmated at this point in terms of Leafeon is the best swap in here, but then I just flip turn and get a matchup back into Dragonite. But it turns out they're going to go for a last little ditch out for a little Ground Terror action here. They go for the Ground Terror, which helps me out, obviously, with, I mean, the fact that it's already dead anyway doesn't really matter, but their best damage is now going to be a Ground Terror boosted Earthquake. Look at this damage. Watch. It's now going to have the stab boost. Earthquake comes through, does absolutely nothing. Alomomola behind an Aurora Veil is honestly just rude, and I do apologize. So the flip turn is able to kill the Metagross finally, so they don't have the option for a Terra in the back, and as I flip turn, we know that their last mon is going to be the Leafeon, and all I've got to do is go into Dragonite, and I've got the Choice Specs Dragonite is actually fun to try to get to kill stuff, and I mean, it still does hit hard. It got base 90 special attack, or, you know, it's base 100. This thing's actually, But he's freaking Dragonite pretty damn strong. So in comes full health Leafeon, who's like, hey, seems like a good day to not get burnt to a crisp by a freaking dragon over there, but that's exactly what's going to happen. They protect for whatever reason. This dude is just obsessed with the protect. I mean, I guess always wear your protection, you know? But regardless, one more flamethrower is going to come through, and that's going to kill the Leafeon. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the end of the game. So thank you very much for watching. This wasn't an extra long video. If you stuck around, you are my favorite. And I will go ahead and catch you guys next time. Peace out.